Just a screen sharing.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the December 12th Murrysville Planning Commission meeting. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, and you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Lemke, Mrs. Hoy,
Here.
Mr. Midal,
Here.
Mr. Patrick,
Here.
Mr. Olszewski,
Here.
Mr. Carnes,
Here.
Mr. Levecki.
Okay. We need approval of the minutes from November 14th, and I believe Jim has a comment.
Yes, I do. It's on page 3, under the Summer Hill Place Phase 2 discussion, third paragraph. It reads, a point, Mr. Morrison also confirmed that the municipality has confirmed the prior approved site plan, and what they're proposing to develop is not part of that approval. I think I understand what it is. I think what I understand, and I just want to confirm it. And I'm going to read what I would propose rewording.
Okay.
Mr. Morrison also confirmed that the municipality has indeed confirmed there is a prior approved site plan, and what they're proposing to develop now is not part of that proposal. They're not part of the approval.
Agreed. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You got that change? Okay, we have a period for public comment, if anybody would like to speak. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Name, rank, and serial number.
I know the drill.
Okay.
My name is Dennis Pavlik, 229 North Duane Drive, Pittsburgh 15239, which is in Murrysville.
Okay.
And I'm here to speak about the Summerhill Phase 2 plan development. It is next to my property. I sent all of you guys an email with a copy of my questions in it, and I'd like to make sure we get those entered for the record.
Okay.
Basically, I'm here about Summerhill Phase 2 development, instrument 2005-04260019899, parcel ID 1240D42. I'm offering my comments because this property and development will abut mine on two sides. I also own a lot behind my Murrysville lot that is in Plumboro. It's an L-shaped lot, and it adjoins, it's right behind my property, and it goes over to a right-of-way easement for a road called Ryan Drive. Right now, I'm concerned about drainage. There's inadequate drainage across North Duane Drive, where there's a proposed retention pond. I don't know if you guys can call in. I put pictures in with the drawing. But right now, if you look at, is there any way to focus in on these or not?
Mr. Pavlik, that's not on the agenda tonight. We don't have those.
You don't have the drawings, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Basically, there's a proposed either a detention or sediment pond that is going to drain through an underpass culvert across Duane Drive. That culvert is only a 4-inch pipe. And so very concerned that, one, the drainage is not adequate there right now. It has never been maintained by the former property owner or the Summerhill Development, who owns that property up to North Duane Drive. So we're very concerned about that drainage. The retention trap shown on the sheet, is that going to be a detention pond that goes away, or is it a retention pond that's going to stay there? Because it's right, up even with my house, and it's kind of the way they're building up the excavation. It's going to be above. It's going to be elevated rather than below where the land is.
Okay.
The third issue is with the earth moving and excavation work. I'm concerned about redirecting the whole hillside down to that North Duane Drive 4-inch culvert, which then runs through my neighbor's yard. So really concerned of, will they be required to bring that up to code or bring it up to some level of adequate drainage? There had been a culvert there. It was an 8-inch pipe that collapsed probably 20 years ago, And so one of the neighbors put in that 4-inch drain across it.
Okay.
And-
Can I make a suggestion, please?
Yes, ma'am.
We have someone that's going to present on this project tonight, correct?
No, this won't be, we don't even have the final drawings yet. It won't be presented until January at the earliest.
So when
Right.
it
I
says-
had come in and reviewed the drawings at the municipality.
This is Summer Hill, not,
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, got you on the
I
wrong
got
one.
confused with Whispering Woods.
Right, yeah,
Right,
you
okay.
guys had discussed this at the November meeting, and I missed that meeting, so I just wanted to come in and give the comment, since that's going to be a proposed plan,
Okay.
as well, maybe they can address it
Yeah.
before they
I
come in
believe
again.
we all have the email.
Right. I would just kind of like to go through and just enter into the record here that, the concerns, if I could. Mainly, and also the drainage along North Duane Drive. You know, there was a drain that was there that hasn't been maintained, that goes to that culvert. So now the water runs off the hillside and it floods Duane Drive, periodically. So it's, that's their responsibility, I believe, that whenever they're doing it, you guys would look into that. And the other question is, that I have concern about, is the encroachment on my property. They show the limit of disturbance right up adjacent to my property line. Now, the question I have is, I have stakes in there that have been there since before I bought the property, at least since 1960. So if I'm going to go out and paint on those lines where I say my property line is, where are they going to paint where they think my property line is? And right now, they're touching it with their limits of disturbance. So are there any reasonable setbacks that you guys have for, getting adjacent to someone else's property as to where you, limit their encroachment? You also have 2 abandoned wells on the property that need to be dealt with. There is the one from the Fassbender house, which is going to be destroyed, and also right next to my house, which looks like they're going to be doing when they do their excavation. It's on the side of the property.
Okay.
I don't know how we see that those wells are sealed, because right now it's a 4-foot by 6-foot hole in the ground, 10 feet deep, with a concrete base and an open well in it, and then a concrete lid on top.
Okay.
And the next thing is, also, it's my understanding that you require 2 entrances or anything more than 50 houses.
Okay.
They're putting 61 additional houses in addition to I think, maybe 50 houses that are already there. So we're very concerned about how they intend to do the second entrance. Now, there's a deed covenant restriction, which is also included in my email, that they are only allowed to enter 1 residence onto Duane Drive. And that runs with the land. So that's, the excerpt of the deed is even under my issue number 6. And also, if we're looking at any other entrance, Duane Drive's a 1-lane road, that goes from 286 in Plum Borough. It's very narrow, it's 1 lane, there's no drainage. And so to get to that by any other method, they would have to open up a Ryan Drive. Now, Ryan Drive is an easement across property that I own and my neighbors back there own adjacent to them. So we don't know, can they just open up this road without having all the owners say, okay, we want to make that a public road, if they would decide to do that? The Duane Drive would require substantial improvement. So we have thinking that that looks like they could get into a cul-de-sac on Summer Ridge from their cul-de-sac, so that they could actually get your second entrance that way and keep everything pretty much in Murraysville. And actually, the biggest problem I had when I was on council, the complaint that we got, and I assume that they're probably pretty much the same thing, is drainage from when someone's doing their building, going onto other people's property. So we're very concerned that the way they're changing the excavation and doing so much earth moving, that they will create a lot more drainage, change the drainage path. And so we would hope that we'll pay attention to that when the development starts to go in. Okay. So again, I've included that. And sanitary sewers and stormwater sewers, really ask where the stormwater sewers, the plan is to have these tied into. There is a retention pond at the end of Duane Drive that's been there in Summerhill Phase 1. And then the second question is, the sanitary sewers all appear to be forced main grinder pumps. And we're wondering, where those would plan on exiting.
Okay.
And if the developer would care to place those, do a sanitary sewer to utilize, maybe come down into Duane Drive, there's possibility that I don't think the neighbors would object, if they could do some.
Okay.
All right, and that concludes my remarks. Thank you so much.
Very good.
And you guys got the email, so I don't need
Yes.
to give you paper copies of this.
We did.
All right, and we'll be back, we say in January?
Probably.
Tentatively, we have not seen the plans yet.
Right, so, yeah.
It's not
All right.
been scheduled.
And I am correct in saying that they have to have 2 entrances, that,
I would not comment on that at this
Yeah.
okay.
We have to wait till we see these plans.
Right, I understand.
And look
That
at
was-
the old plan.
Right,
Don't have the plans, so we can't really comment.
okay, thank you so much.
All right. Anybody else wish to speak right now, or you want to wait for, sir?
I want to wait if I can. I'd like to defer my time,
Okay.
okay, until after they
And
present.
what's your name?
Joseph Correa.
Oh, I see it. Okay, Berkshire Drive. Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. I know, I saw it. Moving on to new business. Presentation of SP 423 and S 823 Caliber Collision, 6037 William Penn Highway. It's a proposed 12,476 square foot auto repair center and the subdivision of 8.83 acres into 2 lots. Tax parcel 492000037. This is B business zoning.
Which one do you want first? Subdivision or the? You want to do the site plan first?
Okay. Okay. Just speak into the microphone, please, so everybody that's watching on Channel 19 can hear you.
Okay, sure. Do I need to sign in here?
No.
I'm out of ports.
Okay.
Daunting seeing myself on the screen.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes,
All
we're
right,
ready.
very good.
Whenever you're ready.
My name is Melanie Bagley. Good evening. I work with Victory Development out of Dallas, Texas. The address is, 7119 Turtle Creek Boulevard, Dallas, Texas, 75219. I'm here tonight to present the Caliber Collision project that is before you all tonight for a recommendation of approval for the land development application and subsequently for a subdivision application. I know Jim's working on pulling up. Perfect.
Okay. Just bear with us one moment. Turtle Creek Boulevard in Dallas, Texas.
Are you familiar?
No.
But you all have a
we
Turtle Creek. I saw
right
that when
here.
I came in. Yeah, yeah. Yes, in Dallas, Turtle Creek is a
correct.
very,
Yeah.
it's a very beautiful area. Lots of trees.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay, yep.
If you'll just, forward.
Okay.
Uh-oh,
Not now.
not yet.
Not now. Nope. Okay. I would say not now.
Let's try it.
I can see the screen, yeah.
Okay.
If you can get it.
I can just move it. There
You
you
can
go.
just move to the next one. So I want to start off, I looked at a map. Caliber Collision has over 1,700 locations across the country. There are several locations in the surrounding Pittsburgh area. Yeah, you can go to that slide. We are hopeful that this will be one of its newest locations. Perfect, thank you. Just a couple of bullet points there, some highlights. Annual revenue of over $3.5 billion. Caliber Collision is headquartered out of Lewisville, Texas, so close to home. This location would be a corporate-owned location. And I think two of the points I put on there that I think are important to mention are something about the operations, which is, one, it's a very high, I use the word caliber, pun intended, operation that the vehicles are serviced solely inside of the facility. As you can kind of see here from some pictures of facilities that are open, you have the detail bays, the garage, the service bays, but everything takes place inside. The cars are stored outside that are in various stages of repair. However, those are screened behind a security fence, an opaque. In this case, we have specified what would be a metal fence with a vinyl slat, so it would be completely opaque. That's for security reasons as well as for screening purposes. The other thing that I think is important to mention, especially given the surrounding residences and community, is that Caliber Collision opens at 7:30 in the morning and shuts off it closes its doors at 5:30 in the evening. We do not operate on Saturday or Sunday. We're closed for business. Cars that are in need of repair, and if you have been in a wreck or unfortunate enough to have been in a wreck and have used a Caliber Collision, you would know that they work mostly with the insurance companies. So pickup and drop off is scheduled really through your insurance company, through Caliber, and typically they only see roughly 2 to 3 drop-offs per day. So this is not your typical service operation, where you come in at your leisure for an oil change or whatever. Everything is scheduled. Okay. Most of the trips, a lot of the trips to and from the site will be from the employees. Speaking of employees, we employ roughly plus or minus 20 full-time positions, very well-paying positions, from people who have various skills and draw from across the community. So this is something that we feel like would be a positive for the community. We also, because we don't specialize in those services that you might find at like I'm citing Texas located, a Jiffy Lube or a oil change station or tires or whatever, we support those supplemental businesses by using their materials or referring to them for those additional services. Okay. So that's kind of the introduction to the brand, the building. What you have before you now are the elevations. In working with Jim and in reading the development standards that you all have in place, and in looking at the surrounding buildings that have recently been built in your community, we see a use of a more higher caliber materials, and that would include the brick and the stone veneer that you see before you here. The front elevation, the north elevation, is what will be visible from William Penn Highway. So we feel like we put our best foot forward there. We've met the minimum % glazing. We have the masonry materials. We have the canopy over the entrance, and then the illuminated sign at the cornice parapet up at the top there. The east and west elevations will be obviously on the side. The west elevation will be, as you see here, has the garage openings. I'm going to show you the photometric here in just a minute, but just to highlight, some of the concerns I would anticipate from surrounding properties, you will see there's wall packs above those garage openings. Wall packs, as you know, and as you might expect at an operation such as this, are really just serving a security purpose. So they are a shielded fixture. It's on a timer. It does not stay on 24 hours. And the operator has the ability to set the timer for those lights. And it mostly corresponds with the seasons, right? The changing of our dusk and dawn. So that would correspond with that. We do have site lighting. And as you'll see from the photometric again, the goal was to get a 0-foot candle lighting level at the property line, and we have been able to achieve that all the way around the property. So basically what that means, as you all I'm sure know, is the light wash basically is gone, is 0-foot candles at our property line. Okay. So those are the elevations, the materials. Let me jump back, we go back. Just again, the materials, we've got the stone veneer, we've got brick, we've got a cast stone coping at the top, and the majority of the building at the rear where the service occurs is an EFIS type material. Okay, thank you. And then this is just kind of a perspective rendering. This was taking the plans and then plotting it in sort of a 3D perspective. This is kind of how it will be seen from the highway. Again, you see here the gate is closed. You don't see the cars that are being stored behind there. You see the public parking spaces. Public parking spaces, I should mention, are used for employees. If there's a situation where there's an overflow, Caliber will open their gate and allow their employees to park in the back. There's really not a whole lot of need for public parking. Really, it's just used for employees. Okay. What else do I want to mention here? We've got the stone veneer. And again, we can talk about go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes.
Caliber Collision, is that a lighted sign?
It is an illuminated sign, yes. But it can be, I don't think we've really gotten into that, Jim.
No, that's,
Yeah. It can be, individually illuminated channel letters. It can be a reverse halo lit. We haven't gotten into that yet, but we will meet your code standards on that.
Yeah. I'm just concerned about the residential backyards of the folks that are your neighbors. Sure. And I'm sure they don't want to see that lighted sign on Saturdays and Sundays. And
Sure, and that's something that we can, whatever your, when we submit the sign package, we'll work with whatever standards you have and meet those standards.
Okay.
Not a problem. All right, will you go to the site plan if you can? Again, I want to show these items. Jonathan Barron is here with me from the EADS group. He can answer any technical questions that you have. But I want to show you the site plan layout. Again, the majority of the parking that you see here is for the car storage. The parking up front, again, is for public and or employees. You'll also note that we're proposing a new access driveway from the highway. I want to let you all know that we have been working with DOT. We've already had a preliminary meeting and have already made our first submission to PennDOT for plan review. We have comments that have already come back. Those comments were, I don't, at the risk of sounding hyperbolic, very benign, very boilerplate. The only really anomaly in the comments was that they wanted us to pursue an embankment permit, which we will handle. So no major issues, no public improvements, nothing from DOT other than to meet their standards as you see here. Will you flip to the next one? The next one I'm going to show you is our landscape plan. Again, the landscaping that is shown here is per the ordinance, the standards here in the development code. You can also see the grading on here, which we can touch on with Jonathan as you see fit. You can see the retention pond at the back and landscaping all around the perimeter of the site.
What's the purpose of that diversion ditch that's on this side of the landscaping?
That is to collect the water and redirect it around the pond, because if we would be taking the water from the residents, that'd be additional stormwater that we'd have to count for in the pond.
And where's the outlet for that?
There's a rock or a energy dissipator basically at the end, or rock dissipator.
So it's not going to go into a stormwater
No, it would then go naturally sheet flow
right out the back?
back towards the stream. It's back there. There would be, I think we sized the riprap. It's probably like an R4, R5 riprap at the end, and we sized it based on the velocity that we would anticipate, for certain storm events that meets the NPDES requirements.
Why is the ditch close to the property line when it could easily go down the slope at the top of the cuts that you're making?
Well, again, I mean, we are trying to, so stormwater has been quite a challenge on this site, just from a water quality standpoint. And since we had zero infiltration, we basically had to make the pond as big as we possibly could on the site and redirect everything away from the pond as best as we could. So we kind of looked at a lot of different options, and even collecting that additional area kind of made the stormwater pond pretty close to not working to meet all the release rate requirements that are built in for the Turtle Creek.
So the diversion ditch doesn't really need to be up there along the property line. It could be located further away from the property line.
I mean, we could take a look at it, but I know our requirement to, meet the stormwater and stormwater,
I think, to Bob's point, I think it would help your stormwater. If you move that
On the other side of
ditch
the,
closer to your grading,
right.
it's less water is gonna be going to your detention pond.
And that moves it further away from the
And
neighbors.
It also keeps you off the property line.
Yeah, we could take a look at that. I mean, I don't see that being a major issue to take a look at.
Okay, so this is your landscaping plan, and I noticed that you stopped the arborvitaes. You don't go all the way back with them. What about the other property owners that, you only went halfway? And, I don't know if you're familiar with Pittsburgh and Deer.
Yeah, but
Those arborvitaes aren't going to be there. So you're going to need...
Yeah, Jim mentioned about possibly swapping those, and I don't think we would have a major issue swapping those out.
Right.
For whatever plant you guys would.
Yeah, I saw on the plans that those were 6 feet high. I think you're going to need something a little higher.
Yeah.
Just my suggestion.
Yeah. And, I mean, I know as far as grading goes, we'll try to not take out every tree possible if we don't have to grade in that area.
Right.
I mean, we're only going to grade what we need to. That's why we mostly kept that area undisturbed, because we were trying to keep that buffer between, the residential, understanding that there's residents there.
Right.
The building is 101 feet away, so we meet the requirements for building, for buffer.
How tall is the building?
Is it 30? No, 20? Yeah, 21 feet. And I think we're about 10 feet below grade from the adjacent, from the grade of the property at the corner there. The building's about 10 feet lower.
Okay.
From a grade perspective.
Okay, continue.
Sorry. If you, Jim, I don't know if you, or will you flip back to the elevation? The main portion, the service portion of the building is 22.6, and the pediment at the north elevation, is 26 feet in height.
26 feet.
Yes, ma'am. That's okay. I think the last thing I want to show, can you forward it, advance it, is the photometric. Again, as I know it's a little bit small here, but I hope everybody has it in their packet. Most of the building lighting that you'll see is for security purposes. Again, it's on a timer. Everything is on a timer. The site lights, the building lighting. If there is a concern about shielding it, that's something that we can work with everybody on. But I think what's depicted here shows that the light levels of the property line are 0, which is a requirement per your code, and we fully meet that.
Okay.
And with that, we'll conclude our presentation and take any other questions you may have.
The one elevation, there was a stack on top of the building. That's for exhaust?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what's the filtration? What's the effluent coming out?
So there is a paint booth, and that is the mechanical equipment that mitigates that controls that. And I think part of the request that Jim had noted was that we provide an air quality study, so we will provide that, but the equipment is state-of-the-art. It meets all the necessary requirements for environmental standards for effluents.
What is the status of your permitting through DEP for the paint booth?
I haven't submitted that yet. We haven't kicked off our all of our details yet.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Bob, do you have something you wanted to ask?
No, she done with her presentation. I'm sure planning commission had several questions.
Yes. So in looking at the plans, I noticed that the sewer line is coming up on the west side of the building. What's the plans for when you get your subdivision for the next lot? Why not bring that sewer line straight up the middle with a main so that it could be utilized by the other lot?
Would you be able to maybe bring up that plan? Just so we're all kind of looking at the same thing. Jim,
Which one do you want?
probably the utility plan would be the best.
Let's see which number it is.
Let's see, it's a couple.
C103.
There you go.
You're saying let's just call up and down being north and south. I know that, well, I guess we could say east and west. But, so you're saying going,
Your sewer line's coming in on the westerly side of the building. And now you're subdividing the lot that's going to be on the easterly side. Wouldn't it make sense to bring the sewer line up with a main so that it could service that lot also?
well, I mean, a main line extension is a different little thing than what we're doing. We're basically just taking our lateral underneath the stream. And we've had a lot of discussions with Bob Swarmer over at FTMSA, and it seemed like that made the most sense. It's kind of a straight shot to the stream. We did, we even did a sanitary sewer lateral elevations, I think was a part of the plan submission. So it's kind of a straight shot from the building to tap in basically close to where that manhole is. We had 3-foot clearance underneath the stream, so we don't have to concrete encase the pipe. We did look at moving it the other direction up the line, and it didn't work based on, I guess it would be to the west. Yeah, we weren't able to get that to work, so we had to move it further down. We did reach out to Bob Swarmer and asked him about the adjacent lot, because we recognized that was one of the comments.
I mean, that's got to be a buildable lot, so it's.
Yeah, so we would need to either A, get some direction from Bob and see if we would need to provide an easement, either a blanket easement, or would it be a dedicated easement? But if that's the case, then you'd almost need to design it
Right.
at that point. So that's, I guess, there's a lot of, that was kind of our question to Bob was how do you want us to move forward
Yeah, I
with the
think you
adjacent?
need to look into that a little bit further. Just
Okay.
to be sure that you're putting it in the right place. Questions?
Yeah, in the public comments last meeting, there was concern about the distance between Berkshire Drive and the entrance to your new building here. What is that distance?
How many feet?
Well, I think it's several hundred feet. I don't know.
Okay.
I'd have to,
The water main extension, actually, we have to do a water main extension from a meter that's at the corner of Berkshire and the highway.
Could you get by
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
microphone?
Yes,
please?
you need to talk into the microphone,
Sorry
please.
about that.
That's all right.
While I'm talking, I'll try and find the email from Ron Holsopple. We have to do a water main extension. There's not a water main in the highway for us to connect to. And so the Water Authority has asked that we extend the water main from the east. There is a blow off at the hard corner there of Berkshire and the highway. And I believe the extension, which is coming all the way from that point to our access drive and across, is, I want to say, let me find it, give me 1 second.
Are you talking about extending it all the way across the 8 acres for both lots?
no, we would, yeah,
Well,
yeah, we would just extend it to the corner of where the proposed lot subdivision is. And
Okay.
So it would go, and then he was then talking with Ron Holsopple, we need to provide a 50 by 30 easement for a pump, or for a station, I think, a future regulator station.
Okay.
I want to say it's almost 150 feet.
Okay.
So,
You can look at that.
let's see.
The scale.
Yeah, the concern I would have there is, I travel that road quite a bit, going out to Delmont, and heading east, and it's, people are moving.
They're moving right there. They're
moving.
going
It's-
downhill
that
and,
45 is not
Yeah.
I guess
the realistic limit there.
Since it's a state road, I mean, PennDOT, we made our submission. I mean, we're actually not the traffic consultant, but the submission was made to PennDOT, and they did their site distance calculations. And, based on the speed and everything, I don't believe, looking at the comments, that there was any issues with the distance between those driveways. But that's more of a PennDOT call, since it's on a state road, I would think. Yeah.
It's hard. Musical microphone. The other thing to keep in mind is we had a meeting with DOT. Jim was present for that. The number of trips that are expected to be generated by this use are again, this is by appointment only. It's not your average service station where people are coming and going at their will all day long. It is scheduled drop-offs. It is employees that are coming and staying all day and leaving at the end of the day. So it's very limited number of trips that are going to be coming and going from this property.
Do you know what the trips were from the traffic count?
It was only, I think the peak was like,
I think it was in the 62, yeah.
60 something.
I'll pull it up.
Is that the ADT or the peak hour trips? Okay.
But I know PennDOT didn't require a full traffic impact study, which is, if PennDOT doesn't require a full TIS, then they don't seem typically have a major issue with traffic.
The frontage across the property is about 240, is that right?
Yeah,
Based on what?
yep.
Okay, so it looks like that's about what it is, the entrance from Berkshire Drive,
So what I
roughly.
say, 200, 150, 200 feet, is that what I said?
Yeah.
That's probably about right. I'd have to get exactly, I'm not in front of my computer right now.
Right.
But it's probably about 150 feet.
okay.
Okay, next question. I
Yes,
have.
please.
Relative to the operations that you're performing there, what type of waste will be developed in the way of liquids or vapors or anything like that? And how will that waste be captured and dealt with?
The waste is completely self-contained within the building. Everything that is, and again, we haven't filed our state permits, but everything is contained within the building. Again, we're not doing oil changes. We're not doing anything related to flushing of transmissions, nothing like that. It's strictly paint and auto body. So the effluents from the paint fumes, yes, those are mitigated through the mechanical system that is installed. But other than that, there's no other services that are being performed there. So minimal waste.
Water-based, I take it?
Yes, sir.
The new paints
Yes, sir.
eliminate the VOCs, right?
Correct. There will be an oil, excuse me, yes, thank you. There will be an oil and sand separator on site
Okay.
for any leakage.
Now, the next question, relative to the vehicles that will be going in and out.
Yes, sir.
I mean, if the cars have been or vehicles have been in a collision, they'll probably be driven in by trucks or pulled
Sure.
in on trucks or
Yes, sir.
whatever. And has PennDOT considered that as part of the calculation of how much distance you need?
Again, those deliveries would, as I understand it, would also be made by appointment. Nothing is dropped off without being scheduled. So whether it's brought in, where it's not operating and it's brought in by a truck, or it's operating and somebody drives it in themselves, it's scheduled. So yes, that actually came up on another project I'm working on, kind of up here in the Northeast. The DOT office had a similar concern. It was actually really related to the radii of the entrance to the site. In this case, we have accommodated that to grant ability for those trucks to maneuver through the site. But it would be scheduled just the same as anything else.
Anything else? Other questions? Jim, do you have any questions?
No, I wanted to try to address the fence and see if there could be something done other than the chain link fence, something a little more architecturally.
Aesthetically pleasing?
Yeah, and the arborvitae I had on my list, and the geotech. What are you going to do with the toe of the slope there?
Yeah, some poor soils?
Yes, I know we're actually not the geotechnical consultant, but I know we did provide a response to Jim to the comments, I believe, back in November. So I don't know if those were dispersed to the Planning Commission, but the geotech did provide responses to those comments. And I know they did a toe slope analysis based on our elevations and what we were proposing, and the geotech had recommendations based on that. But I mean, anything geotechnical, I honestly am not going to speak on behalf, because that's what they're consulting.
PSI.
Yeah, it's PSI who's doing the geotech. But
Okay.
Could you forward that email again, please?
I sent it to you, Jim.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
So what's the timing of this project? What are you foreseeing, or what are you proposing?
Ideally, we would love to have land development approval by early next year. We're going to spend some money and kick off our full building and MEP and technical drawings this month. We would have those ready by February, and then we would submit those for building permit review while, as I mentioned, we're in for DOT, we're in for the Conservation District. All of our, thank you.
NPDES?
Yes, all of those are in. So we have our full civil drawings. The outside agency reviews are concurrent, or they're currently ongoing while we work through this with you all. With the goal being that we would have approvals as soon as the ground thaws next year.
Okay. Anybody from the audience want to speak on this subject? Come on up. And you are Joe
Joseph Garay,
Kickeray,
Berkshire
6995 Berkshire.
correct.
Sir.
Thank you. Welcome. My property faces this proposed project, and my home is elevated further up from the other two that are closest to the highway.
Okay.
My deck would overlook the entire project, and if it's 25 feet high, I would see the whole, every single piece of that property would be visible on my deck or in my backyard or from my house. So it's an eyesight, and I don't want it there. Why didn't they buy the property across the street? There's 12 acres across the street. I don't think anybody would ever object to any kind of shop over there.
I can't answer that.
I know, thank you. But it's right in my backyard. And it's going
Understand.
to be an eyesore, and they're talking about arborvitaes. I think the chart showed a third of the way up,
Right,
and they grow about a foot a year.
yeah.
So a thuga tree, they grow 5 to 6 feet a year, and they should be planted at least 15 to 20 feet to begin with. And they would provide a good
Screen,
fence.
right.
And with their height, it would protect me from having to look at that every day, because I'll see every wrecked car out there every day.
I got you.
Okay, thank you. So the thuga trees was what they should consider. They're thuga giants, they're called. As far as the waste materials, and the waste basin, that's going to seep into the soil, and it's rainwater, but they don't want it going into our drinking water, so it'll eventually drift down into the drinking water, but after it's filtered to the soil, from what I'm told, from that pond.
Yeah,
What waste are you speaking of?
Yeah, I'm not understanding what
Well,
you're.
from the pond that they want to put in, and that'll be directly behind my home, that holding pond.
That's rainwater.
That's right.
Rainwater, yes.
Right.
And we don't get that much rainwater. I mean, where's it going now? It's going somewhere. It's sinking into the ground.
Right.
But if they have a building there with cement or asphalt, then the water will have to be put somewhere. So I understand that, but it's not something I want in my backyard.
I understand.
Let me see if there's anything else that I need to. I think that's about it, but I don't know, like I said, I don't know why they didn't consider the property across the street. Nobody would object because there's already an auto body shop over there.
That's probably why.
No, I mean, there's about a quarter of a mile, space in between where, this is going to be 100 feet from where it would be across the street where the property is available.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much for your comments, sir.
Thank you very much. Oh, I had a video, and I sent it to Regis Silent, the mayor,
Okay.
but it was taken down off of YouTube. So I'll make another video if you like, where I can show you the elevation of me looking down on this property.
Jim, have you seen this video?
No, I have not.
Okay.
No, okay. But
Okay,
I'll
well, if
make
Reach
another-
has it, we can get it.
It was taken down. I
Oh.
told my son we probably wouldn't need it any longer because I thought the project was too far along to stop it. So he took it down, and he was the one that filmed it, so I don't have access to it now, but I can make another one.
Okay.
The next meeting, I'll bring it.
Very good, sir.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time. And Troy Smith? And you're at 6999 Berkshire Drive.
Yes, hi.
Sir?
And as of last meeting that my wife and I were here, we are more affected than anybody by
Which
this.
house is yours? First?
Very first house.
Very first house.
So we would be more directed than anyone in this project because as soon as you sit on my back porch, that's all I'm going to look at is a body shop. Now, I've been in the car business for 38 years. I don't care what kind of fence you're talking about putting up, I'm still going to see junk cars back there and wrecked. Okay? The elevation puts us a little higher. I'm going to see nothing but body shop. And you're talking about 100 feet from my property line. That's right close.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like it's further away, which I don't understand why we couldn't have pushed this building down a little further, made it a little more feasible for us being right there, my neighbors and our house. Because believe me, I've been a resident here for 12 years. These guys have been residents here for a lot longer than me. I would have never built or bought a house there if this building would have been there, ever. There's so much property up and down Route 22. Why they have to go butt up against a residential area is beyond me. And then this drainage thing that we're talking about, it sounds like it's going to be on the property line right next to my house. Is that correct?
Well, that's one of the items we were talking about, and the suggestion was made to move it closer to their
the other
asphalt
side.
on the other side of
Yes.
whatever landscaping.
I just think from the plans that we saw, there's not enough separation from the residents and this building. You know, I think there should be more, if that building's gonna go there, there should be more vegetation, there should be more trees, something. A fence, a privacy fence, something. So we don't have to look at this every single day. You know, we spend a lot of time in our yard, and I really don't want to look at this thing every single day. You know, and my neighbors are the same. They're the next house and the next house down, but this building's going to be right in my backyard.
You literally, when you drive down Berkshire Drive, you will see the building from the road in our neighborhood. It's a clear shot. It's going to depreciate our home.
And not to mention when they're building, about the mess that we're going to have right up against our property. You know, with the grading and the building and, you know, the noise and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I don't agree with this whole situation where this building's being put.
Didn't take into consideration the
You know,
neighborhood, that's for sure.
and I know that any of you who were sitting here, if you had a building going in your backyard, you'd be feeling the same way. Oh, yeah, and I mean, I don't know if anybody knew this, but there was a house there that is buried in the back, right past my house. They didn't withdraw it, they just buried it over. Now, I don't know what's in that house. I don't know if anybody checked, but, you know, who knows what they're getting into there. So,
Well, thank you very much for your comments, and we are listening.
I asked last time,
Yeah.
when that was changed from residential to commercial, did you?
2005?
2005.
2005.
Yes, and Jim actually did some research. There was a lot of publicity in the paper. There were zoning change signs put up everywhere. There were public hearings. It may have been before you bought your house. I don't know what year you bought your house.
Yeah, it was 2010.
But, you know, I mean, I've got lots of friends that are realtors, and I love them all. And
That's another thing you just
somebody made a
brought up.
comment that a realtor told one of you property owners that there would never be anything built behind you.
Well, what about,
I can't help you with that.
oh, no, of course you can't.
Right.
You know, what about property value? You know, with a building in our backyard? No.
I understand. I hear everything you're saying, and we will certainly take that into consideration. Here's the issue. It's Zone B. A auto body repair shop is permitted in a B district. So as far as what powers we have to stop them, they have the right to build on their property. Now, our job is to try and make it as least interfering with your life and the neighbors, and that's what we're trying to do here. Just like I said, I don't like that Caliber sign facing your house.
Well, we're
all
going
lit
to have all
up.
the garage doors facing our house.
But
So
yeah, those lighted letters kind of bother me.
the whole thing bothers me.
I hear you. I hear
But
you.
yeah, I don't want to see the lights, I don't want to see the building, I don't want to hear the noise.
Right.
No
No.
consideration to the neighbors at all, there's not a privacy wall or.
And did you say they bought the whole property, the 8.8 acres?
I believe they did, and I think we're going through a subdivision, correct?
So what would prevent them from building down a little bit further instead?
That's a
of right
very
in the
good
backyard?
question.
Why would
I
they
asked
do
the same.
that? They see the neighbors, they see that the neighborhood is a beautiful neighborhood, why would they want to disturb that?
That's a
They
very
got
good
almost
question.
9 acres, I don't understand why they can't push it back a little. That would make it a little easier,
It would make it, I agree.
No.
But
so
anything else?
it don't matter, I guess, but no.
No, thank you very much for your time. Okay. Anybody have any more questions about this project?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
The landscaping, and I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here with that landscaping and that channel that's going along the property line there. And you can probably tell me this, why does the landscaping stop where it does?
I asked that same question.
I guess to be frank with you guys, we're meeting the ordinance.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
So we're meeting the landscaping ordinance with what we're providing.
Which is what?
We meet the street tree requirements, there's a table up in the top right corner of the landscape plan that has the ordinance
Oh, yes, please. Sorry.
It has the ordinance requirements on there and,
Well, those are minimums.
oh, and I understand.
Okay.
I'm just, I guess, from our perspective, that's what we're meeting, but
Well, you're coming into a kind of a residential neighborhood here. You might have to provide something better.
I mean, that would guess that
Madam
would be
Chairman,
more up to the
Madam
developer.
Chairperson.
Yes.
Do you have an objection to extending the landscaping along the
I think
property
that
line?
Just can't speak on behalf of the developer and
Hold on one second.
the owner.
We have one of our
Makes any
members. Go
sense.
ahead, Bob.
I think the applicant has heard a lot of concerns here tonight from the residents. And I think that they should probably take that under advisement
Of course.
and consider what they can do to alleviate some of their concern.
Yes.
And maybe they can work with the residents to reach some sort of reasonable compromise. Don't forget that the applicant still has to secure an easement from the municipality, which the municipality is under no obligation to provide. So I think it would be in their best interest to sit down and try to do a lot more than just meeting the requirements of the ordinance. You know, that's all I.
Understood. And, you know, from where we are coming in, just please understand that we are working to meet the intent of the ordinance and design a site that meets the engineering standards for grading, drainage, et cetera. What we heard tonight was there were concerns with visibility of broken down cars. We heard concerns about landscaping and having adequate or more than adequate landscaping for the purposes of screening. We heard there are concerns about illumination of signage. So we can certainly take all those into account. Our understanding is that is the purpose of this meeting.
Correct.
And I think that those are definitely items that we can work with. We can work with Jim on a portion, that wall that's on the west side. If, it's typically anywhere from 6 to 8 feet. We can work with that. It's an opaque fence as it stands with a chain link and vinyl slats. But if there's something more architecturally compelling, that's something we can work. These are all things that we can work with, and I think that's the goal here. Landscaping is not something that is black and white. We can certainly accommodate species that is conducive to the environment. These are all things that we are used to working with, and we can continue to do that and move forward. I believe we can do that.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, and I think just to touch back on what I was going to get at there before we kind of derailed, moving that channel from the property line where you're disturbing some existing vegetation
Right.
and extending the existing landscaping down will go a long ways.
Very good.
Towards, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you what to do. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
Yes.
get the ditch off the property line
Yeah.
and extend the landscaping down a little bit. I think that'll be a vast improvement over what you're dealing with here.
Understood. Appreciate the recommendation.
Just a real quick
Yes, sir.
hypothetical.
Yes, sir.
You have this property and you moved it all the way to the western extreme part of the property.
Why not you-
What were the criteria that forced you in that direction?
The site changes grade significantly as it moves to the east. We're working with kind of an area that is, I believe, more conducive to the engineering. I don't know what the seller wants to do with the residual property. That's something that, is to be determined. This is just the site that worked for us in terms of engineering.
So you're not going to own both lots?
No, we will not own both lots.
Okay.
Correct.
That answers that question.
Yeah,
That would be why.
I mean, there's a giant bank. The further you get down, this
Yes, sir.
section also already has that existing little
Right.
access there to 22. So I think that's it.
That was the first comment I had, I think, when they contacted.
Yes, sir.
Move it as far east as you can.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good.
Very
If there's
good.
no more questions on this, we're going to move on to the next item. Thank you very much. Oh, well, you have to come up and speak into the microphone, sir.
They talked about the paint shop
Yeah.
And I believe he said that the paint would be separated with water.
It's a water-based paint.
Water-based paint.
Okay, but it's still going to go into our pipeline and down to our drinking system.
No.
That's how I understood him to say.
No.
Okay, because I was told by MAWC that it would only be the water from the sinks and the commodes.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. But what are they going to do with that paint water that they have? Where's it going to go?
That's their problem, and it's going to be inside the building.
It could be our problem.
It's not going to be our problem.
Okay, thank you.
Nope, not the way I understand it, sir. Okay, let's move on to presentation of SP 623 Whispering Woods subdivision, 3304 Logan Ferry Road, 6-lot subdivision, 19.3 acres, tax parcel 4910130014, R2 zoning. Who's here to discuss this?
I have the land development plan here.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Brian Almeter with the firm of Farringer McCarty Gray, representing the applicant Green Space Realty LLC. As mentioned, this property is at Logan's Ferry Road, 3304, tax parcel 4910130014. This was a remainder of a subdivision that our firm did back in 2010, parcel C, in the Clifton Vista plan of lots. At that time, the developer of Clifton Vista had wanted to keep this separate from the single-family lot built on the other portion of this property. This property contains 19.3 acres. It's zoned R2. I believe that the applicant has been before Murraysville to obtain that rezoning, and this is sort of a step in the process. We have submitted, and as part of this presentation tonight, land development application and subdivision application that was submitted November 10th this year. What I brought with me tonight is just a couple of exhibits, and I'm sure Mr. Morrison has the same. I just put some color on this one. The red is the outline of the property. The steep slopes are designated here in the darker gray, and the lighter, that's the 40% and over. 25 to 40 is in the lighter gray, and then the white is less than 25%. I have denoted also a stream that crosses the property in blue from left to right, east to west. Logan's Ferry on this particular plan is on the right-hand side as you're looking at the screen. There are a couple adjacent single-family homes that are accessed off of Logan Ferry as well that are sort of fingers, and you can see them jutting in off of the road. The property is proposed to be developed into 5 single-family homes and the remaining parcel C1. The single-family homes exceed the 20,000 square foot minimum. Let me show you. This exhibit is the tentative or general house location plan. The 5 lots are outlined in yellow, and they're accessed by a 30-foot wide private driveway easement, generally following the existing driveway up along the lower property line or the southern property line on this map. What we were trying to do is minimize the excavation needed to improve the driveway to get to the buildable portion of the property is really what we're trying to do. That location also works well for sight distance left and right because that's at the high point of Logan Ferry Road, so you can see the greatest distance back toward Sardis Road, and then to the left as we come down the valley, coming down the hill from Monroeville in that direction. The lots will be serviced the underground stormwater detention systems are shown against Logan's Ferry Road. Those would be underground systems. We did do soil testing, and there was no infiltration. We did actually 5 different test locations, and there was no, measurable infiltration on the property. These would be underground systems. All of the stormwater from the individual homes and the private driveway would drain into these facilities. They would be held there for a short period of time and then discharge into the storm sewer system in Logan Ferry Road, which would then discharge into the tributary that's at the bridge.
Who will maintain those two?
The homeowners would be responsible to maintain those.
Will that be in their deed so they clearly know?
Deed
their
Homeowners
responsibilities?
Association, yeah, that's one of the comments that staff raised about restrictive covenants and easements and those types of things, and that's what that would be addressed in that, that document. Sanitary sewer also is currently there was an existing house there in Barnes that the Hornsbys owned back for many years prior to Clifton Vista. The sanitary sewer extension is a manhole in Logan Ferry Road. The proposed sewer system would extend from Logan Ferry to the left, parallel and basically on the property line between lots 1 and 2 up to 3 and 4, and that would be servicing the 4 lower lots on this plan. Because of the elevation difference on Lot 5, which is the uppermost lot on this image, the sanitary sewer would run on this property, but along the adjacent single-family home, and it would be just a single lateral to service that house from the FTMSA line. Similarly, water would follow the private driveway. Electric and gas would also follow that driveway. We've had some conversations with those utility companies. We've provided the will serve letters, but haven't got into final design exactly where those utilities would go, partly because these are tentative house location plans. No final plans have been developed at this time in terms of house footprints and actual driveway locations. These are sort of our imagination, for lack of a better term. But to meet the certain current market standards. But we will be further discussing those layouts as we proceed along with this design.
Let's talk about the roadway.
Sure.
So this is going to be a private drive,
Private drive, yes.
and you have it listed as 30-foot right-of-way?
Yes, the right-of-way would be 30 foot wide.
And so how wide's the pavement going to be?
As the plans were prepared and presented, we were trying to maintain the minimum needed to service the homes, which was 10 to 12 feet. Since the plans have been submitted and presented to your emergency medical personnel, we did get an email from the fire chief through Murraysville's offices, and they're strongly recommending a 15-foot wide driveway minimum to service their trucks. And they also mentioned about a bigger radius in between.
Yeah, that 90-degree turn is going to be very difficult.
Right in here.
Right.
As well as a little bit different, possible little different profile as the driveway comes off of Logan's Ferry Road.
Okay.
On paper, it's relatively steep, but actually as you drive it, it's not as bad as
What is the slope?
I believe we have the slope set at 13 to 14% in some locations. We transitioned at the intersection with Logan Ferry, and as we come up around the curve, come to the fronts of the houses, it also transitions off and levels off along the top of the property. Where
Jim, is 15% slope our maximum? So they're under the, okay.
Right.
Yep. In the plan set, we did have a profile of showing how the profile of the driveway worked. At this time, we haven't had a lot of time in order to study what the fire department has asked for.
Right.
But I don't think that's going to be a problem to adhere to.
Yeah, well, you have to satisfy them first.
Well, I-
You have to be able
I
to
certainly understand that,
Provide
yes.
service to those homes.
Yes, yes, and we certainly wouldn't want to build something that wouldn't be accessible by
Right.
emergency vehicles.
So that
Questions?
driveway is sloping away from Logan's Ferry, right?
Slopes-
It comes
slopes
down,
down
right?
to
at
it,
like
yes.
2%. I didn't see any, where is that water going?
The stormwater
Yeah.
from that
Yeah,
driveway?
the runoff from the driveway.
Right. So currently, that driveway acts as a drainage channel. And I was actually out there when it was raining, and I said, I got to take some pictures for my engineer. It actually comes down the driveway and comes back toward Sardis Road. So the high point is just, if you're coming down the driveway, the high point of Logan Ferry is just about 25 feet to the left or north of this driveway. So what we've calculated and why the inlets are the way they are is that we're not increasing the flow along that driveway based on this design and how we've captured the runoff from the homes and the grading as shown. So that point of interest is the same or less than what's currently going there.
Find the sheet I was just on. It looked like you were. Is
I'm
there a
on
curb
C.
on the one side of the? There.
We have a curb on the one side of the
Where it's
driveway.
on the upper side, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's how you're cutting it off.
Yeah,
Got it.
we're cutting off the water coming down onto the single-family homes that are already there.
Okay.
So we're limiting or minimizing any impact for water drainage and capturing that and bringing it back to our underground stormwater management facilities.
Man, I can't. What sheet should I be looking at? I can't seem to. There it is. Maybe yeah, here it is. Okay.
You on C3?
I don't know where I'm at. Yeah, C3. C3, yes.
I think
I'm
we've
looking at
we've made enough of them, but anyway,
Right, yeah.
if you need some.
The other thing I know, it looks like you, the Y, the lateral, the Y for the sewer lateral. What is this, lot 1?
Yes.
I thought it was going into the. I was like, why are there?
Yeah.
I thought you were tying that storm drain
That's what I thought.
system into the
No,
sewer.
there's
I'm like,
a
what are
lot
they
of things
doing?
going on there now. No, we're-
Yeah, so that needs moved up, obviously, out of the
yeah.
to get it away from there.
The sanitary sewer is very shallow in Logan Ferry for some reason or other. I don't know why. It's probably a little less than 4 feet. So we're very, very limited on the slope of the sanitary sewer connection. But the lateral is or was still there for the existing home, so we know that obviously it flows and it avoids any of the other utilities. There is a 12-inch water line along the western side or the site side of Logan Ferry, so we know that that's right there as well.
What is MAWC going to make you do for the water? Do you know yet?
We've talked to them. There is a fire hydrant just shown on 3.0, just at the off the corner of the property line, and
I see it.
we think that meets the fire code regulations, but we can certainly relook at that. It can be just a private 2-inch domestic line or 1.5 inches. We would size it accordingly for the domestic demands of 5 homes. So that is the intent of the plan. Was
I just didn't know if they
provide
were
a
going to make
domestic-
what they were going to make you run back there. I was just curious.
No.
Yeah.
No. And then we have submitted the planning module to FTMSA back in the summer. We're still working to get feedback from them. We submitted our sanitary sewer profiles and details as well to keep that ball rolling. We did meet with Jim Pillsbury and the Conservation District. This is in a high-quality watershed, as you know. So there's a little bit higher level of both requirements for the NPDES permit. It's an individual permit versus a general permit, which is actually, we're working through some of those details now. We do have a meeting scheduled with DEP as well because they have their fingers into this
Sure.
particular permitting process. So we're hopeful, just after the first of the year, we have that scheduled with them. That will impact, or not impact, but the review will be stormwater, soil erosion from construction activities, as well as riparian buffers off of streams, which we're also working through with them.
Okay. Bob, you have a question?
Oh, you guys go ahead. I don't see how you can get emergency vehicles up this hill, make that almost 90-degree turn, and then have a place to turn around and get back down the hill.
Yeah, we have, as I mentioned, an email through Jim's office. And if I could paraphrase for the commission here, the last 3 points on his recommendation was a minimum driveway width of 15 feet, absolute minimum width for the ladder truck for it to be set up. The bend at the private road should have a much bigger radius, minimum of 40 foot for a single lane. If a road is widened to 15, it may be practical to leave it as a 25. And then extend the vertical curve at the entrance of Logan Ferry from 20 to 25 from 20. And we can look at that profile as well. So that was from Mr. Mahoney at Murraysville 1.
Hey, Brian?
Yes.
I noticed that your slope map, I think it's on one of your first sheets, indicates that there's a lot, that some of the building is, and grading is going to be in the steep slope area. Is that correct?
Generally, we stayed away from all the very steep slopes. We may have some in the steep slope areas.
Lot number 5?
Lot 5, lot 5 is bordering those two slope designations. We had PA Soil and Rock do both the infiltration testing and geotechnical investigation. We know that there's some comments in the briefing, and I've talked to Adam over there again today, and he's doing stability analysis and slope analysis needed to show that that our slopes are okay and compliant.
Okay.
Okay.
So you got your geotech working on it.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Just a comment, it looks like you have a 40-foot turnaround, so, and that's next to a driveway, so that it looks like you could turn a truck around?
Yeah, and actually, part of the other comment from the fire chief was, understand that may not be code specified private driveway width, 10 foot up the hill is really tight, 12 foot across the top is better. What did he say about the turnaround? The turnaround isn't a necessity, but it's half the size needed for fire trucks. They will be backing all the way out onto Logan Ferry, not a major issue. So we thought we would attempt to accommodate with this private driveway for sort of a turnaround for the residents to use, a convenient turnaround, but also try to incorporate a driveway as well to have a little extra room if need be. But the fire chief didn't even seem it was necessary. So I'd still work with him in the municipality.
Right.
But I sort of have the same thing. It's the truck's going to come up. I think they make do how they make do as long as we got the width of the driveway wide enough for them.
Questions? Anybody?
I would like to just quickly go through the briefing because I know that there was quite a few comments.
Okay.
If you don't mind. One we know we have to add quite a few things. A lot of these notes were sort of statements and not comments, so we know it's not quite as long as what it appears to be. But a couple of things. The wetland delineation, we only had our wetland group, EcoTune, look at just the area that was immediately adjacent to this development, or where the homes are going to be put. There was a comment about looking at the whole property. Because the remainder of the property is proposed to be for the, I'll say, the quiet enjoyment of the 5 homeowners, it's not open to the public. There is no development plans, but we don't know what Murraysville codes might be in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, whatever it is. But we didn't have them look at that at all. And I'm going to say the code probably says you got to look at the whole property.
Pretty sure it does.
But there's no need to do that. We're not impacting it. And for, anyway, that's just my comment on that.
Are you going to look at it?
We can,
Yeah.
for another $10,000, we could have Pat Gavigan look at it, I understand.
Yes, all right.
General impact, we will provide a statement for that. Covenants, we understand the covenants will have to be drafted and provided to the municipality for review. Agreements for stormwater, private road, we understand that. Setbacks and PDS. We presume the EAC and/or Park and Recs will have a board meeting in which these will be discussed.
Later this month, yep.
Cost estimate, security, private street maintenance. One of the things that did come out of the review was the waiver of the street standards. Under the construction code, chapter 97, I believe the wording is fewer than 5 lots can meet or can qualify, I guess, for a lesser standard. What we would be asking for here is either a modification or a waiver to allow this particular plan to be reviewed under that lesser standards, partly because of what the fire chief has mentioned. Also, to put a wider road in there is going to increase stormwater runoff. It's going to increase impact, thermal impacts. It's going to be going against what the high-quality watershed, by minimizing the pavement widths and those types of things. It's sort of going against the objectives of what the high-quality watershed should be doing.
I mean, 2 of your lots.
Minimize less excavation and all that. So, again, sort of holistically looking at the layout and what we think this property can hold, we would ask that Murraysville consider these lesser widths.
So that would be a waiver.
So that means you could put a cul-de-sac at the end and widen the street and the radius there?
I think that would lose 2 lots. So, which then would,
Well, in theory, you're 6 lots, right?
well, with the
No, you have
remainder.
6.
With the remainder,
Yeah.
There's 6 lots there. But I think you need to take a look at the road.
Yeah.
I mean, you have 2 lots that are fronting on
Logan's Ferry.
Logan's Ferry.
Right.
I mean, is there
It's
any,
going to be the back of their houses, I believe.
as they've laid out, plus with the stormwater management facilities, because that bank is 3 or 4 feet higher than Logan Ferry Road, that would have to be completely cut out. So we're trying to keep those at a minimum depth and not be 10 foot deep so a driveway could come across them. And we can provide a section to sort of show that relationship, because I think that was one of the other questions in the soils part of the briefing, was the relationship of the stormwater management facility to Logan Ferry Road.
Anything else?
I think I've hit all the high points. Again, there's quite a few comments on stormwater. Again, we're working through that with both the Conservation District and eventually DEP. And as I said, I will have a response from PA Soil and Rock here within a day or so on all the grading and excavation comments noted in the briefing.
So Jim, we're to consider acceptance of this, SP 623.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? We accept.
Okay. Thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
See you in January.
Anything else, Jim?
I have nothing else.
Nothing cooking. I heard we might get pickleball courts.
Yeah, there's a guy wants to put indoor pickleball court there on Mellon Road.
Cool.
Warehouse he built.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hey. Yeah, that was long.